This video is made in partnership with The Daily Upside, a free business and finance newsletter. Check out the link in the description to learn more. When you hear the words job creator, one of two things come to mind. According to a poll I ran last week, about 70% of you will think of an entrepreneur running a company that gives jobs to workers, who will then, thanks to them, be able to afford to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. The other 30% of you will be thinking of a fat cat business owner who uses the fact that they employ people as an excuse to lobby for lower taxes, looser business regulations, and less severe punishments for their actual criminal behavior. Jobs and job creation is a highly politicized issue with some of the most polarizing people in the world at the center of the debate. Depending on who you ask, Elon Musk is either a genius or a fraudster. Jeff Bezos has given work to millions and pushed for a $15 minimum wage. But he has also allowed systems to exist that make the same workers piss in bottles to keep up with hourly quotas. Both sides of the aisle have created a myth of what a job creator is, and both of them are kind of wrong. Rich business owners and the companies that they run do indeed employ people and provide financial stability to most Americans who rely on a salary to support themselves and their families. On the opposite side of the same coin, they only do that because they really need to. Given the opportunity, they would prefer to be job destroyers, but a variety of factors are making that impossible, for now. There is another level to this argument that most people ignore as well, which is, do we really even want more jobs? If you have watched my video on staff loyalty, the 3-day work week, or bullshit jobs, you might realize that work for the sake of work isn't something that should be encouraged. So, to see what value job creators really bring to society, it's time to learn how money works, which was made possible this week by The Daily Upside. The Daily Upside is a free, high-quality email newsletter with a specific focus on finance and business. It was actually started by a former investment banker who quit after nearly a decade on Wall Street to start the venture. The Daily Upside provides articles that are clear, concise, and go further than the headlines and sound bites that traditional financial media is accustomed to. They also share fascinating financial stories that you won't find anywhere else. I have actually used a lot of these stories as a groundwork for entire videos here on my channel. If you are making investments, working in finance, or just have an interest in business, you will be shocked with how much more in tune you will be with the world around you if you switch out 5 minutes of scrolling through Instagram with 5 minutes of reading through a high-quality newsletter like The Daily Upside. The best part is it's completely free, and only takes a few seconds to sign up with my link in the video description below. The SBA reported that there were 31.7 million registered small businesses in America as of July of 2021. Of those 31.7 million, 25.7 million, or over 80%, had no employees whatsoever. Small businesses make up 99.9% of all businesses in the States. And what this shows is that giving out jobs is difficult for most businesses. The first obstacle is, of course, the direct cost of employing someone. A full-time employee that is just getting a minimum wage will still cost a business $15,000 to $30,000 per year, depending on the state that they operate in. The second obstacle is the red tape of legally hiring someone. Most business owners would need to hire the help of an accountant to make sure that wages, taxes, and insurance are all being paid for properly for the sake of the business and the employee. This adds significant additional headaches and expenses. The third obstacle is that employees are very unpredictable. A small business could invest lots of money into training a new staff member just to have them quit once they are at a point where they are worth the investment. These 3 reasons are why small business owners simply choose to do the work themselves. So for now, let's just focus on the large companies. The businesses with over 500 employees on their payroll. These are the businesses that are normally at the center of the debate about the role of a job creator anyway. The same obstacles exist for these companies as well, but given their size, there is no way around employing people. Amazon is investing billions of dollars into systems to reduce their dependency on labor in their supply chain. They are even experimenting with the idea of completely unmanned store locations. Other companies are pursuing self-driving cars, which have the potential to replace bus, taxi, and truck drivers. So why are these job creators trying so hard to get rid of jobs? Most people assume that the endgame of this automation research is to get rid of the expense involved in hiring workers. If you replace a worker with a robot, you eliminate a salary and save the company thousands of dollars every year. The problem is that these robots can cost millions of dollars to install, and many of these companies have already spent billions on research without yet replacing a single job. The goal for a lot of these businesses is actually to get rid of the unpredictability of workers and to put the money towards a capital asset rather than an ongoing expense. If you pay $1 million for a new piece of equipment, you still have $1 million in assets on the balance sheet. It's just been transferred from cash to equipment. This equipment will have a tax-deductible depreciation schedule and return predictable performance over its operating life. If you spend $1 million on salaries, then that's all an expense, which means that the value is going to the workers, not being kept in the business. Investors would obviously prefer the former option, even if it's not necessarily the best financial decision. Okay, so maybe the almighty job creators are unwitting heroes, but that shouldn't really matter, should it? Whether they like it or not, these people have built companies that are employing tens of thousands of people. Well, okay, but is that always a good thing? I know he would have never expected this, but Van Cram's comment in my recent community post was actually very insightful. I will use a more community-friendly example, but the same point applied. If I go to a shop and make a mess, someone will need to be paid to clean that up. That is a job that is being created. If I vandalize City Hall, then the local government will pay a contractor to remove the graffiti and maybe pay for a security guard to make sure it doesn't happen again. That is a job being created. The distinction here is that these jobs are being created to fix or otherwise avoid the destruction of value rather than participate in the creation of value. Economists call this the broken window fallacy. David Graeber, an anthropologist and author of the book Bullshit Jobs, would call this type of work duct taping. No matter the label, I think that we can all agree that we would all be better off if these jobs weren't needed. There are certain companies in America today that are creating the same type of jobs. Casino operations, weapons manufacturers, coal mines, and even mercenary outfits will be the first companies to talk about all the jobs that they create. Some of these companies will even use the workers that they employ as direct leverage over the government at entry level. They intentionally spread out their facilities all over the country so that they can threaten to lay off workers if they are not awarded government contracts. Sometimes, the jobs that are better off not existing are harder to spot. My day job is investment banking. Many of my colleagues have advanced degrees in medicine, physics, chemistry, and computer science. They choose to work in the industry because they would make more money as a quant than they would as a scientist. I understand the choice that they made, but they would do more good for the world if their investment banking jobs did not exist. The truth is, you probably believe one of two myths about job creators. You either believe the myth that they are heroes creating livelihoods for millions of their fellow Americans, or you believe the myth that they are fat cats profiting off labor of exploited workers who they then turn around and hold up as an example of good they are doing. The truth is, the people that we normally think of as job creators don't really create jobs at all. They create systems. Jeff Bezos created a system for a convenient online shopping platform and a web hosting service. This system extends beyond just the Amazon corporation itself and includes subcontractors, legal firms, partner businesses, and governments all over the world. Jeff Bezos has either directly set up these systems or was responsible for employing someone who employed someone who hired someone to set up the systems that make Amazon run. Jeff is no longer the CEO, but when he was, he would work with his chief operations officer, who would hire and oversee regional directors, who would manage sales representatives, who would sell server hosting to businesses. A byproduct of this system is that multiple layers of employees were hired, and a separate business was able to launch their website without needing to invest in server hardware. If Jeff could create a system where profit was made without these other two side effects, he would surely do it, because in the eyes of a businessman, these other two outcomes are just cost centers. The wealthiest businessmen in the world don't create jobs, they create systems. Some of those systems require a lot of manpower, and some of those systems need very few people. Some of these systems do wonderful things, and greatly improve our everyday lives, and some of these systems serve only to benefit themselves. Some of these systems do great things while employing very few people, and some employ millions while harming society at large. So, the next time a CEO or a lobbyist gets up in front of Congress and talks about all the jobs that their business creates, make sure to remember that given a second chance, they would do away with every last one of their salaried employees. The only problem is they haven't figured out how to. Yet. Now, if you're wondering what value these lobbyists add to society, make sure you check out my video where I try my best to defend the role of public lobbying here in the States. Thanks again to the Daily Upside's free email newsletter for making it possible for everybody to keep on learning how money works.